keep you this energetic and so passionate about this, Nabila. I admire all three of you, but you, mashallah, knowing that you represent not only a hijabi women, but a youth and, that generation. So, subhanAllah, congrats to you and congrats to two of you for taking this courageous step and taking it so seriously onto you to represent us at the state level. And not only that, I feel just seeing the audience here, right? Like, none of you are from our district, but the amount of support and attendance that we are seeing, I think our community at this time is desperate to have a representation at that level. And kudos to people like them who are ready and willing to take this risk and be there for us. This is so empowering to see our people running the race, so empowering. Who thought that we would have one day 3 people from our community doing this? So kudos to you guys, and hands, please give them a big hand. Round of applause. Just for being so courageous and taking this step. Mashallah, thank you guys. Thank you for taking this so seriously. Now I'm gonna go around the table. If you guys have flashcards ready. Yes. Questions ready on the flashcards, we'll collect that. Something with this mic. Is this Isha? Hello? Yeah. Should we wait for Isha's Salah?
About 5 minutes.
Okay, we've got 5 minutes for Isha, so we'll go with the questions.
This has to come after Isha. It's a long question. We'll go a couple of questions.
Okay. Is this for everyone?
For everyone.
Okay, we have a question for all 3 candidates, and you can take turns. Illinois is in top 5 list of the states in the United States. When it comes to state and local taxes, what is your plan to bring the taxes down? The second part to this is Illinois is second in the nation when it comes to real estate taxes. How can we reduce taxes and balance the budget? We'll start with
Yes, thank you for those questions. Absolutely, our state and local taxes, and I'm going to emphasize the local taxes because if you all look at your property tax bill, you see just how high that is, and it is disproportionately high compared to the rest of the country. And that is partly because we are so overly reliant on property taxes to fund our public schools and our education system. And we have a flat income tax on the state level. If you live in Indiana, in most parts of Indiana, you'd actually be paying a higher income tax than you do in Illinois. If you live in Minnesota, California, New York, and in 33 states, you'd be paying a higher income tax, but probably lower property taxes. And so they're directly connected. Your high property taxes are because our state isn't investing sufficiently in public education. To invest sufficiently in public education, now that's a question of where do we get resources to do that. And we've kind of handicapped ourselves at the moment because we have a flat income tax that doesn't allow us to tax those making significant incomes at a slightly higher rate, like most of the rest of the country does. There was a ballot measure that you all may remember from 2 years ago that failed, unfortunately, to amend the Illinois Constitution. I believe that Republicans lied and misinformed voters and essentially said, you can't trust Mike Madigan with your money. I don't trust Mike Madigan with the money either, but that money from the top 3% of earners was going to help us invest in education, help us pay down pensions, help us address the structural problems that we have with our state budget. And unfortunately, it didn't pass. I think we need to have a serious conversation at this point about what it'll take. I'm happy to get into weeds offline on the property tax system and exactly what the state's role is as well to help reform our property tax system so that hopefully we can see relief in the short term as well.
I don't think I have much to add to that. The reason the property taxes are high is because the quality of the education, particularly in those high-paying districts, is very high. If you look at the districts of New Trier, Glenbrook South, Glenbrook North, Lake Park, where my daughter attends high school, Hinsdale Central, Naperville Central, Naperville North, those are extremely high-paying districts. But you know what? Those schools are some of the best public schools in the country. And we have some of the best universities in the country, like University of Illinois, for example, which has top, for several decades, has some of the top engineering programs of any school in the country. So it's for that purpose that all that money the property tax money goes into those public schools. That's why it's so high. And we could have had a graduated income tax, as Abdul Nasser alluded to, but because of fear mongering, that measure was completely defeated. Remember the old lady that was coming in the commercial saying, I don't want my, my pension to be affected, my retirement savings to be affected, et cetera. It was all negative advertising. That killed it. That could have, the money that came from that graduated income tax could have gone to pay for public education, lowering property taxes. However, I have to add one thing. Recently, in the past legislature, the legislature is now providing some funding to local school districts to offset that charge. So there really should not be any property tax increases. If you see that, go to your school districts, ask them why, and ask them why are you increasing it when you're getting some funding from the state. As far as balanced budget, we've had a balanced budget since Pritzker's been in office, so that's the answer to that.
Oh, sorry. I will say for me, especially going door to door talking to folks, the property tax issue is an issue of us not caring for senior residents in our community. And I think, like, alhamdulillah, just from the cultural background, from being Hyderabadi, from being Muslim, we have it in our faith to care for elder folks in our community, and there are elder folks in our community on a fixed income that for some reason they're making a little bit more than they would to qualify for the senior tax exemption, for this tax freeze, and they are struggling to stay in their homes. So the property taxes here, they're very, very high. And Azam and Abdul Nasser illustrated why exactly, because it goes towards funding public education. But there are solutions besides hurting public education that we can take to alleviate the issue. Number one, there are lots of large commercial properties in the 51st district. We had a huge Amazon facility move in. After they moved in, they took a huge appeal on their property taxes. They got a huge cut, and whose property taxes increased? Ours did. Small business owners, homeowners. So if Jeff Bezos is not paying his fair share, then how should we expect older folks in our community to be doing that when they're on a fixed income? When you look at your property tax bill, you will see so many layers of government. You'll see school districts. We have an elementary school district, a high school district, township. There are duplicative layers of government that are causing redundant taxation. Evanston, they redrew their township lines, and they saved taxpayers $300 million. So there are solutions that we can be taking to make sure that the property tax burden is relieved, especially for older folks in our community, but inshallah for everyone. And then the third is making sure that the state is better funding education at their level rather than relying on property taxes. So it is a big concern. It is a concern for many people in the district, and I did not think I would be this passionate about property taxes, but here we are. So.
We're going to take a break for Isha Salah now, and I urge everyone to be prompt after the Salah, come back here. We will continue the question and answer round, and then there would be a brief talk by Habib Qadri. So please do come back, and the dinner will be served right after Isha Salah as well.